Hello, everyone. I welcome you to today's Paidsense webinar. Thank you so much for joining in. It's a pleasure to have you all on board. So, in this session, we're going to discuss how to read your visitors' minds and deliver the perfect website experience using session recording. I'm Pavitra Rajshekharan, product marketer for Zoho Paidsense, and I'll be your presenter for today. So, before we get started, let's do a quick housekeeping check. I hope the audio and video are clear. If you're facing any issues, please raise your hand using the option to your left or leave us a comment and we'll have it checked right away. If everything is good, just leave a yes and we'll go ahead. Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation. We discuss all things conversion optimization on social media, so do make sure to follow us at Zoho Paidsense. And lastly, do give us a shout out using the hashtag CRO with Paidsense and share your feedback with us. This session is being recorded and will be shared with you soon after we're done. Now let's take a quick look at the agenda. The agenda for today looks like this. What is session recording? How does it compare with the other marketing tools? What can it do for your website? What does Paidsense's session recording offer? Then I'll give you a complete demo of the session recording feature in Paidsense. And finally, we have a QA session planned for you guys. So if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, you can just drop them in the QA section that you see to your left, and we'll take them up later. So let's get started. What is session recording? Well, session recordings are basically video renderings of your visitors' interactions with your website. This captures everything from clicks, scrolls, and mouse movements as your visitors navigate through your web pages. So this works in whichever device your website is being viewed in. That is, like, it can be a desktop or a laptop or any mobile devices. So they basically give you this ability to understand your visitors' journey on your website. And as a marketer, you can imagine how insightful this can be for your business. In fact, I would say there is nothing more insightful than watching your visitors interact with your website in real time. So with session recordings, you can just go back, replay, and revisit your visitor interactions anytime you want to. This way, you can figure out which parts of your website attract your visitors and which parts distract them from your main CTA. So ultimately, when you want to make a business decision, this empowers you with a lot of confidence because you're taking a decision that's not only logical, but it's also data driven. What edge does session recording have over the other tools? There are multiple user analysis tools in the market today. So why should you choose session recording over the other tools? I'm sure you're thinking, what's all the hype about? But seeing is believing, right? So from the moment a visitor lands on your website to where they navigate and what they actually do on your screen, what was their journey to the checkout like, and at what point they left your website, all of this is captured in session recording. So about the benefits of session recording, analyzing visitor behavior. You can see the areas of your page where visitors spend a significant amount of time, the areas they ignore, and the time they take to reach your CTA section. This will help you discover why visitors behave in a certain way so that you can optimize your website accordingly. Identifying the UI and UX breaks. Broken pages can be an instant put off for your visitors. You might have hundreds of pages, so it's almost impossible for you to monitor them every day. This is where session recording can save your time and effort. You can watch your recordings, discover the UI breaks, and fix them immediately. Optimizing website forms. With session recording, you can spot the friction in your lead generation forms and identify the fields that cause drop-off. For example, if you see a sudden drop-off in your form submissions, you can just pull out a recording and watch how visitors fill your forms. Chances are a visitor is repeatedly filling the password field and the form does not progress. So you can tackle this by a simple password validation error message. Session recording in Paidsense. So now I'll quickly take you through what Paidsense has to offer in terms of session recording. With Paidsense, you can see an exact recording of your visitors' actions, including the navigation between the different tabs and pages within the browser. For example, if you have a set of products, you can see the order in which the user browsed them and compare the different aspects that lead them either to a conversion or to be a drop-off. You can view the business goals achieved by your visitors in their recordings. For example, you can check users who have abandoned the carts, downloaded a white paper, filled in a form, and more. Paidsense comes with advanced segmentation. So you can now slice and dice your recordings based on your different criteria, like visitors who've accomplished certain goals. You also have advanced targeting, where you can choose a segment and record only the visitors from that particular segment. You also have an option to add tags, so you do not have to go through hundreds of recordings to find one recording. This way, you save a lot of time and effort. Now, what about privacy? This is a $1 million question that's been a hot debate lately. But to be honest, it's natural for users to be concerned about how marketers will use their data, right? So, here are a few quick facts to clear the air. Paidsense session recording only captures the anonymized data. That means email addresses or names of your visitors will not be recorded. It does not capture any PII, that is personally identifiable information, such as usernames or passwords. Paidsense is completely GDPR compliant and doesn't record or store any keystrokes and provides the option to mask sensitive information. And finally, it allows you to explicitly add a banner to your site to inform visitors that you collect their cookie information for marketing purposes only. Now we've come to the demo part of the webinar. So let me give you a complete walkthrough of session recordings in Paidsense. Before we get into the session recording feature, I would like to give you a quick overview of Zoho Paidsense and the features we offer. On the left, you can see the list of features in each module, and on the top right pane, you can see the common settings. In Paidsense, we've bundled all our features under 6 different categories, that is, analytics, track, analyze, optimize, personalize, and engage. These are all the crucial steps involved in a CRO process. Analytics is Paidsense's most recent and most sought after feature. With Analytics, you can find out how visitors landed on your website, know when they complete a goal, identify the pages that bring conversions, and so much more. When it comes to the track module, we have 2 types of experiments, which is goals and funnel analysis. Using goals, you can track the key metrics on your website. And with funnel analysis, you'll be able to understand your conversion funnel and figure out where exactly your visitors are getting dropped off. Next comes the analyze module. Here we have heat maps that will help you identify where your visitors click, where they spend the most time, and where they drop off. Moving on to form analytics. Using this feature, you'll be able to understand how your visitors are interacting with the forms on your website, and you'll also be able to identify the reason behind why they abandon your form. Then we have the session recording feature, the hero of today's webinar. This feature will help you understand how the visitors engage and interact with your website in real time. The next module is the optimize module. Based on the hypothesis that you create in the track and the analyze module, you will be able to test out the changes using A/B tests and split URL tests. Then we have the personalize module. Using this feature, you can personalize your entire visitor journey. And the final module is the engage module. Under engage, you have polls, push notifications, and pop-ups. You can run polls on your website to collect visitor feedback. With push notifications, you can send notifications to your users based on the targeted campaign. And finally, with pop-ups, you can create different types of pop-ups to grab the attention of your visitors. Now, let's dive into the feature of the day, session recording. Creating an experiment on Paidsense is pretty simple. So let me show you how you can create a session recording experiment. You'll just need to click New Session Recording and give your experiment a name. Once you've given your experiment a name, click Create, which will navigate you to the Configuration tab. Here, you'll have to enter the URL for which you want to run the experiment. By default, the match type will be domain. This will target the entire website. You also have a few other match types. The simple URL match targets only a specific page on your website and ignores the query param. If you choose the exact URL match, the URL should be identical to the one specified in the value type, Only then your visitors will be tracked. If you choose the URL pattern match, you can target more than just one page on your website. That is, let's say Zilko Fashions is your website. All you need to do is just copy this URL and paste it under value and just add an asterisk. This way, you can track more than one page on your website. Moving on to the next match type. Here we have the regex match type. Regex stands for regular expression and is used to target multiple and complex URLs by providing a pattern to match the URL. Next, you have the URL contains. This targets all the pages that contain the entire string in the value tab. For example, if you want to track the pages that have the keyword Zilko Fashion Store, all you need to do is enter this in the value tab and we'll be able to track the visitors for the pages that contain the keyword Zilko Fashion Store. Next, you have URL starts with. This is used to target the pages that start with the entered text, which is case insensitive. And finally, we have URL ends with. This match type, as the name suggests, is used to target the pages that end with the entered text. The last one is the URL within page group. This lets you combine a set of web pages with similar attributes into a common group and then track them. So once you select the match type and enter the URL, you will have to select the number of recordings that need to be tracked for this experiment. By default, this will be 5,000 recordings. If you want more or less recordings, you can choose accordingly. Now we click Next. This will take you to the Audience tab. By default, Paidsense will track all visitors. But apart from this, Paidsense also has many preset segments like direct visitors, paid campaign traffic, organic search traffic, social traffic, referral traffic, mobile and tablet traffic, desktop traffic, new visitors, and returning visitors. You can select any of these preset segments for tracking. Besides this, you also have an option to customize your audience where you can create an audience set based on your requirement. So let's say you want to track visitors based on their device type. So you'll just have to choose device type equals to desktop, tablet, mobile, or whatever device you want. You can just give a name and a description and click Next. Here's the final part of the configuration, privacy. In session recording, we track the users based on the cookie value that is set in the browser, and the tracking is completely anonymous. As we are GDPR compliant, we will be masking all the input elements in your website. Apart from this, if you want to mask any other element in your website, you can choose this option here. You just have to provide the URL and click on Load Page. Now you can select which element need to be masked. For example, if you want to mask this cart element, you just need to select it and the element ID will appear here. Besides this, you also have advanced options where you can mask all the input elements. This will let you mask all the input elements such as input tags, button tags, labels, and text areas on your page. The next option here is Hide URL Query Parameter. This will hide all the query parameters displayed in your recording. Finally, here we have the project privacy setting. When you click on this, it will take you to the privacy settings of this project. This feature is exclusively available for session recording. By default, it will be on Do Not Notify Them. But if you want your visitors to know that you use cookies to track them, you can choose one of the other two options. If you choose the third option, it will give your user the option of opting out. And if they decide to opt out by clicking on Do Not Track, then we will not track that specific user's interactions with your website. So now that we've seen how to set up a session recording experiment, let me show you how your recording will actually look. Once you play the recording, you can see how a visitor interacts with your website in real time. On the top here, you can see the web pages that the visitor has navigated to in the exact order of navigation. And this bar down here will give you the details about the goals that have been accomplished by the visitors. And of course, here you can pause and play your recording or move to the next or previous recording. Next, if you check the session details here, as I already mentioned, the IPs are anonymized and random animal names are added with an adjective. Also, a visitor is counted once if they spend 2 hours on your website. For example, let's say a visitor comes to your website and he or she is interacting with your site for more than 2 hours. Then this would be considered as a new recording. Also, if they're idle for more than 30 minutes and start interacting with your website again, that will also be considered as a new visitor and a new recording. In session details, besides the anonymized visitor name, you can also find the date and the time of recording, from which place the visitor is from, and you'll also be able to see the details like device, OS, browser resolution, and the source. Besides this, in session recording, we also have a tag option. You can add manual tags or automatic tags. Adding a tag will make it easier for you to search and filter a recording. And under events, you'll be able to see whether the user has clicked on a specific link, button, or any other CTA, and what goals they've accomplished and where they've navigated. And finally, I need to tell you about the most important feature in session recording, which is Identifier API. For example, if your website has a login session where you're able to identify your visitor's email address or a user ID, you can send it over to us through an API, and instead of giving you a random animal name, we'll share the specific user recording with you. This will help you understand how the user has engaged with your website. And that's about it. We've covered almost everything about session recording. So if you guys have any other further doubts or feedback, please feel free to write to us at support@zohopaidsense.com. We're also pretty active on social media, so do follow us there as well. We have an interesting webinar on personalization coming up in a couple of weeks, so do register and tune in for that as well. So I guess that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.